And I think it was the summer of 1987, a bunch of friends and I were all having margaritas at the Taco Cabana late one night, and we're talking about student apathy. And we thought that maybe one of the reasons that students were apathetic is that none of the candidates asked for their votes. They didn't market to them. So we decided to come up with a sort of a project to address that issue.
How would you respond to Senator McCain's charge that he has been a much stronger leader in addressing global warming than either of you have been?
Democrats and other political organizations on campus have worked to get college students actively involved. How does your issues and your message and your focus not only involve students in the political process, but also help build a generation of future Democrats?
Although many have hailed welfare reform as a success, 17% of American children still live in poverty, and in Texas, 24% of all children are poor. Given the recent economic slowdowns, it is likely that low-income working families will find it even harder to make ends meet. You've talked about how you will help the middle class, but my question is, with the looming economic recession, what will you do to help America's least advantaged families stay afloat?
I would like to know how your administration will work with other countries to help reduce global warming pollution worldwide.
Given the imminence of global warming, will you support a moratorium on all new coal-fired plants?
And I have a question about earmarks. It seems that Democrats as well as Republicans have their hands in the cookie jar, and I would like to know what concrete steps you would take to stop this process and bring more transparency in how taxpayers' dollars are spent on what seem to be pet projects of politicians.
All the recent attention given to the steroids in Major League Baseball, and with America being at war, do you think that the United States Congress is paying too much attention to Major League Baseball?
Where you see transition happening in Cuba, what you expect to happen in the coming months and years, and what role your administration will play with Cuba and what kind of relationship you have with them.
What could you do to ensure an effective fight against the cartels who their violence is spreading to the U.S. side of the border now?
But what will you do to get the federal government serious about helping cities across the nation build high quality, fast, and reliable mass transportation options in the city center as well as linking cities together?
My question is, since the U.S. seems to be getting left behind in engineering and other math-related fields, what would you do to help encourage kids to go into these areas?
My question is for Senator Obama. Senator, why would you plagiarize a speech and think that you wouldn't get caught about it? If you're the candidate of change, why wouldn't you change some of the words around a little bit?
I was just curious to hear what both candidates thought about the border and kind of the border control, because in the upcoming years it's going to be an increasing problem as the U.S. population grows and as the job market starts to get tighter and tighter. A lot of these illegal immigrants might start causing problems. I'm wondering what their plan would be for the next 4 years if they were to be president, of how to control that and how to take that problem in hand.
I was wondering about your plans and your priorities for the science budget during your administration.
I know both of you are in favor of withdrawing our troops. My question is, what programs do you have to ensure that our soldiers are going to have housing and jobs when they come home?
Senator Obama, in 2001 your church issued a resolution calling for a study on reparations for slavery, comparing reparations to payments to the State of Israel for the Holocaust. How do you feel about reparations for slavery in this country?
If you were elected president, what would you do to hold industries accountable for their carbon emissions, and would you consider imposing a carbon tax?
Regardless of how competent the Bush administration may or may not be, President Bush can be commended for his commitment to AIDS relief, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. As the next president of the United States, what will you do to continue the Bush legacy?
State tuition is consistently on the rise. What do you feel the federal government can do to moderate these increases, and should tuition be subsidized?
Senators Clinton and Senator Obama, how do you see yourself as uniquely able to lead the American people beyond your campaign rhetoric?
I grew up in the Rio Grande Valley where I attended school with many students who were undocumented. After graduation, they weren't able to attend college because of their status. What would you do to ensure that these students have an opportunity to attend college if they wish to do so?
I would like to know how each candidate would, as president, tackle the issue of informing students at a younger age about sexually transmitted infections.
I hear both of you speaking a lot about bringing the troops from Iraq home soon after you are elected, if that's what happens. What about the troops in Afghanistan? Will you bring them home soon as well?
As you already know, the people of Pakistan just voted in a historic parliamentary election. Considering these recent developments and keeping Pakistan's frontline status in mind, what policy measures, if any, do you propose for Pakistan now?
During each of your careers in public service, what has been the most tangible initiative you've worked on that has bettered higher education or better access into higher education?
And my question is for both candidates, and it is cake or pie?
With farmers taking more advantage of the ethanol subsidies and abandoning their traditional crops, as a consequence, the price for those crops is going up. I want to know y'all's stance on ethanol subsidies, and is it worth the price?
What is my share of the national debt?
What are your plans for making sure that slaughter in the future is both humane and safe?
My first question is for Hillary Clinton. The question is, do you believe that our capitalist republic is the best form of government, or is there another better system? If so, which one?
The National Institute of Health just announced that they're discouraging animal testing and they'll phase it out of their facilities. I just wanted to know what your views regarding animal testing are.
My second question goes to Barack Obama. The question is, if you believe in the Second Amendment and the individual right to bear arms, why support legislation to restrict it? In that sense, would you restrict an individual's rights guaranteed by the First Amendment as well?
My question is, what are your plans to relieve the financial burden on students in higher education? Is it the same plan for lower income students and higher income students, or is there one set plan?
As the son of a hardworking and caring teacher and a longtime student of Texas public education, I have seen firsthand the havoc caused by the current No Child Left Behind implementation. How do you propose to rectify the current situation, and what are your future goals for schools around the nation?
The President of the United States holds a number of key titles, including Commander-in-Chief and Head of State. The United States' status as a superpower has led the American president to be dubbed the most powerful person on Earth, with superhero-like status. Who is your favorite superhero?
I think at the end of the day, it's really up to the students to ask for a stronger voice in the process, and to do so sort of with conviction and with diplomacy and with grace, and they might just get it.